Hello number ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking, and have you ever wondered why the heck did the ancient Romans have so many names? I mean, given even today sometimes you've got like that family that has a child and they give him a first name, a middle name, a second middle name that he will never use in his life because it was the grandpa's name, and then you have the family name. But the Romans, and I on a different level, my friend. Alright, so the reality is that what we're going to discuss today is in fact a quite deep topic, and I'll have to present some interesting sources and period information in order for us to really understand what's going on in ancient Rome. What we are talking about is called Praenomina, so the three names, although then again they can go up to 5. Never mind 3. In other words, we are discussing the topic of Roman naming convention. Now, differently from the modern era, where you have a first name, which is the name that you use on a daily basis with your friends and family, and in fact most people, then you have a middle name that you usually don't use. There are exceptions, but in general we don't use it. It's just there, cool, just a little decoration if you will, and then you have the surname or the last name that we use in formal situations where you have to use your complete name, and that's it. For the Romans, it was a lot more complicated than that. What did you expect? If the Romans could, they would make the process of drinking a glass of water extremely complex from a bureaucratic sense. They absolutely would. Alright, so in general, just to simplify at first, the Praenomina functions this way. You have 3 names. The first one is called Praenomen, the second one is the Nomen, and then the last is the Cognomen. The Praenomen is the given name, usually used when the person is a child, and is also used by family members and very, very close friends. But generally speaking, it's a family thing. The Nomen instead is the family or clan name, and it's in fact shared by every single member of the family, whether it be a woman or whether it be a man, whether it be a male or female. I'll give some examples. And it's connected to the Roman gens or gentes. Last but not least, the cognomen is basically to be understood as a sort of nickname that was given to the individual by external sources. Now, of course, I'm going to describe the details of each and every single one of these, how they functioned, what the most common names were, and all of that. But we also have to add 2 more. The patronymic, in other words, the name connected to who his father was, and then we have the tribe name. So, a total of 5 names. Now, of course, these names did not belong to every single member of society. There are some specific characteristics and requirements for you to be able to have the other special names, if you will. So let's address that. What qualifies you in order to be able to have all of these names, and how far back can we go when it comes to the beginning of this interesting and intricate custom. Alright, number ones, let me take a moment of your time because I'm gonna show you something. It's gonna be worth it. You're gonna explode, and I know you will order a few of what I'm about to show you. I just know. I know you. You're gonna love it. Check this out. So this website is called Middlebornearms. Good friend of the channel, by the way, a viewer of the channel in fact, and he makes all sorts of incredible wooden swords, whether it be ancient Roman, whether it be medieval. He's got it all. Let's check this out. We got two, and this guy's good. Look at the craftsmanship on this thing. Holy moly. And of course I asked him, because he can write things and etch them, and I'm gonna show you what I had him write on the blade. You're gonna laugh your head off. But anyways, look how solid. Man, this is quality. This is a viewer. This is a viewer, guys. Carthago delenda est. Yes, for the glory of Rome. Yeah, this is phenomenal. The grip, I swear, this guy makes the best wooden swords ever. He also makes medieval ones, by the way, and we're gonna check out his website more. Cheaply Indian made, or this here in the USA. Come on. Do it, guys. You know you want it. And it's affordable, of course. This is wood. Man, I freaking love it. And the work, it's handmade. Wow, this is a Pompeii. Gladius, I probably should say. Expert doesn't even say it. I'm sorry, I'm just really amazed by the quality of this. This is lovely. Also for a simpler, smaller design, for practice, to practice like a real ancient Roman. Freaking love it. But they are both really nice. Very, very good. Look at this. So yeah, be a true Roman, citizen of the empire. Come on. Link in the description. For the glory of Rome. Now you will find... Whew, look at that. Literally, I think this guy provides the best wooden swords the internet has to offer made here in the USA. The Romans, of course, did use wooden rudis, or training swords, but they were not double the weight. This is a mistranslation of vegetius. The swords like this one are not supposed to be double weight if you're using them to train combat. But if you're using swords to train at the stake, then they didn't really use regular swords like these. They would use massive reproductions that were in fact double the weight. But at the stake, not for hand-to-hand combat. These are for hand-to-hand combat training. Alright, so if you liked this, link in the description, go order your swords right now. And by doing that, not only you'll support a friend of the channel, but you will also support the channel as well. Thank you very much. One of the most pertinent historical findings is the Heraclean tablets, because on top of these tablets, which are made of bronze, that were found near the site of Heraclea Lucania, we find this, the Lex Iulia Municipalis. Now, as we can read here, the Lex Iulia Municipalis was a law of uncertain content and scope concerning municipal institutions passed by Julius Caesar, or less likely Augustus. Yeah, I would stick with Julius Caesar, probably. It is attested in a single inscription from Patavium commemorating a certain Marcus blah blah blah. And it may have been a piece of legislation dealing with municipal institutions in Italy. So, the tablets are containing several laws, including those that dictate how names worked, which is what we use as a connection to understand the Tria Nomina, among other things. And it was promulgated or written in 45 BC, as we say, by Julius Caesar. Now, does this mean that Tria Nomina as a naming convention begins in 45 BC? No, it's very likely that it's a lot more ancient than that, because already at this time was firmly established. But it was put down into law, which kind of gives us the idea that this is an important event, if anything, when it comes to the reiteration of a custom that is clearly more archaic. On the tablets, what's interesting is that, among other things, we find the name of a male Roman citizen, specifically a ingenus. And for those who are not aware, an ingenus within Roman society would be a freeborn individual within Rome. So this is a citizen, he's Roman, he's a freeborn, and all of these are important characteristics when it comes to the ability to have all of these names. And in fact, a certain social status is usually expected when it comes to all five. And he indeed has all three names, the Praenomen, Nomen, and Cognomen, upon which they added the patronymic and the tribe name as explained. So he has all five. Now, as explained, the Praenomen is the personal, private name of an individual in Rome who is born as a free man. Some of the most common ones would be Agricola, Paulus, Procolus, Postumus, Vibius, etc. However, the most commonly used three praenomen ever used within the entirety of Roman history, as far as we know, are the names Quintus, Sextus, Publius, Titus, Gaius, and Marcus. Now, the praenomen is given unofficially to the child if it's a male 9 days after they're born, and if it's a female 8 days after they're born. However, the little boy will officially gain his praenomen, even though it's used informally in the family, he will officially gain his praenomen when he reaches 16 years of age and gets the toga virilis, that means that he has now become a man. Usually when it comes to the praenomen of a woman, while it's still used informally in the family, normally there isn't a ceremony like that, and that is because usually something needs to be officialized, at least in the case of male in ancient Rome, because they might have a political career, or they might need to have a public calling. But when it comes to a woman, anything official would be connected through the name of the husband or the father. Now, talking about the nomen instead. The nomen, as we said, is the name of the family, sometimes referred to as the clan name. So this is shared by all members of the family, male or female. So what happens is that if you belong to the gens Iulia, so this is your family, the family Iulia, then of course, if you're a male, your nomen will be Iulius, and if you're a female, your name will be Iulia. Likewise, if you belong to the Valeria family, Valerius, if you're male, Valeria if you're female, and you can continue that way. This is why when we hear a name such as Gaius, Julius, Caesar, then Gaius is his praenomen. Julius is his family name. So it's not that he's called Julius. Every single member of his family is. But the way you distinguish it is because he's Gaius Julius, so you're using both, and because, of course, you are adding the term Caesar, which in this case probably is a kind of cognomen, at least at first, because do remember those are nicknames. But we'll get back to that. Interestingly enough, and this is something you might not imagine, but if someone was a libertus, so the liberti, in other words, former slaves, so you were a slave within the Claudia family, and then you are freed, right? Because either your master is dead, and so usually that was the... Sometimes, yes, some slaves can be inherited by the kids, but generally speaking, it was practiced in ancient Rome. When the master dies, the slaves are freed. Or maybe you paid and you bought your freedom, or maybe whatever the reason is that you are now a free man, and so the liberti, they sometimes do get the family name of the family that they served. Now, you will notice that these family names, particularly the important ones, Julius, Claudius, Flavius, they are extremely common. And the reason why they're extremely common is not only because, of course, someone marries into the family and then they use the name, even though female do tend to maintain their nomen as well. But what happens is that, again, you free slaves, they gain the name, and if you're a magistrate, if you're an emperor, and you're someone who is foreign, but you gain citizenship, and now you become Roman, you get their family name. So in other words, this is why these names were so common, because so many people, at the end of the day, particularly when it was like an extended, important, illustrious family, then a lot of people would end up having that nomen, so the clan name. At this point, before we go into the cognomen, we need to discuss the patronymic. So as we said, oftentimes you have a female or a male, they have a praenomen, they have a nomen, but now before they move into the cognomen, they usually like to add a patronymic. So they take the name of their father, they conjugate it into the genitive, and then they add filius or filia, which means son of, son or daughter, so son of, daughter of, the name of the father. This was a way, of course, to create more distinction if you had a situation with too many people with the same praenomen and nomen, if they belong to the same gens. However, if this sounds like a lot of work, then think about this. The most illustrious families in ancient Rome, on top of the name of the father, they would also add the name of the grandfather and sometimes even the name of the great-grandfather. It would never end when they're like, nice to meet you, what's your name? Alright, so now we get to the tribe name. Every Roman citizen, male or female, was inscribed or subscribed to a tribe. This was done for census, but it was also done for political reasons. Initially, these tribes had a geographic connotation. So when you belong to a specific tribe, it's also because you reside in a specific area that they control. This does continue all the way up into the Republic, but by the imperial period, this geographic connotation starts to be less important, and it becomes more of a situation of distinction, particularly when there are a lot of people who are becoming Roman citizens, because remember, the moment you become a Roman citizen, you're automatically subscribed to one of these tribes. Finally, we reach the cognomen, which, as we said, is some kind of nickname. We often hear these, for instance, when you add Africanus, Germanicus at the end of the name of an important general and whatnot. That is their cognomen, and it's usually attached due to something they have accomplished, in this case, in these specific territories. So, just because Scipio Africanus was called African, it's not because he was from Africa, he wasn't, but it's because of the things that he did in Africa, aka destroying Carthage, defeating Hannibal at the Battle of Zama. Likewise, Germanicus is because of what he did in the Germania region during the battles that he had with the German tribes. Now, these are the coolest ones, when you do something epic and then you get it onto your name, and that, who's that? Oh, that's Scipio Africanus. It's like, ooh, is he the one? Yes. So that's really cool. But sometimes some of these nicknames is because of physical characteristics, and some of these are not great. Let's put it this way. Like if you had an imperfection or a blemish, or you had a big like if you had any form of imperfection in your skin, or even if you had something that may have been considered as a positive characteristic. It depends. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative, and other times this is because of provenance. It does happen sometimes. So if your family originally comes from Gaul, they might add that as a cognomen. And last but not least, sometimes it's because of your job. So, and this is interesting because you could connect it to some surnames in England, like Smith. It is a job, so it's very likely connected to that. Some ancestor that perhaps you had if your surname is Smith. And we still have these in Italy sometimes. Some are names, some names are location-based because the family was originally from that area, and it made them stand out, if you will, as they moved into a different location. And other times it's job connected, and that's what they did. And so transmitting it from father to son, and so that's how you refer them. It's not John, it's John, the son of the Smith, so John Smith. However, the weirdest cognomen are the ones that have a reference to either animals or plants. Plants? I don't know, don't ask me that one, I haven't got a clue. Anyways, in general, the function of nicknames is in fact to distinguish furthermore. And so yes, there are a lot of individuals with the same praenomen, the same nomen, the same freaking patronymic because it's the same father. Or which one is it? Oh, it's Lupus. It's the wolf one. What do you mean? The one that one day, that day, as we were out, killed the wolf during the hunting party. That's okay. Oh, okay, it's the wolf. It's the wolf one. That's literally how it works, which is why I think it probably goes back who the heck knows when. Anyways, this was just an introductory discussion, informal discussion on how the tria nomina work, or the naming convention in ancient Rome works. One of my favorite ones is in fact connected to an animal, and it's Aquila. If I could choose a nickname, I would probably choose that one because it means eagle, due to the fact that the symbolism of the eagle, and it was used in ancient Rome. I thought it's a really cool one. But anyways, thank you very much for watching. I hope you learned something. If you did, please remember thumbs up, and I will see you for the next upload. Bye. If you're enjoying this video so far, please take a moment to check out my Patreon page. With as little as a $5 support, you can help us ensure that we can continue to produce high quality and high researched content. And at the same time, you get access to polls, extra videos, unlisted streams, and much more. Thank you so much. If you're enjoying this video so far, please take a moment to check out my Patreon page. With as little as a $5 support, you can help us ensure that we can continue to produce high quality and high researched content. And at the same time, you get access to polls, extra videos, unlisted streams, and much more. Thank you so much.